The coronavirus, or COVID-19, seems to be the hottest topic in the world right now. We have the political aspects, we have the economic aspects, we have the health aspects, but what about the spiritual aspect of the coronavirus? So I'm looking at different perspectives. I'm looking from Feng Shui. We have certain energies that move around. We have also numerology that looks at the energy day by day, week by week, and month by month, and year by year. We have the astrology, we have the Indian palm leaves, the nadis. We have a lot of different perspectives. So what I've sort of come to the conclusion is, spiritually, this is a great awakening. So every time we have a crisis, it's waking us up to our true state, our true essence. No matter how dark it looks, it's like turning on the light in a room and you see all the mess you've made. So once you see the mess, you can actually clean it up, remove the garbage. And if you're wondering who I am, my name is Zimon August. I'm a Feng Shui expert, a spiritual leader, and a writer about love. So I would like to sort of create a balance, because today is the 8th of April 2020. And in 2020, 8th of April here, it's the full moon, a super full moon. And number 8 in numerology always stands for balance. Balance between being spiritual, but also being here on earth. We need to balance those out. And it's a difficult balance. Most of us are either stuck in the material world or the spiritual world, and we don't have the balance. And that's what we need today. So if we look at the coronavirus, one of the things that a lot of spiritual will say, if you can't go out, go within. And when half the world is in lockdown and has to stay inside, this has the potential to be a time where we look at what have we done in the past and what are we going to do in the future. Look at all the decisions we made and look if this is still the same we want to do. Do we still want the society to look the same as it has? So if we look at Feng Shui, I've put up the numbers here. This is how the Bakwa and the flying stars look for 2020. In the middle we have the violent star, number 7 here. Number 7 stands for theft, violence. It stands for like your cash flow going up and down. So what have we experienced this year? We experienced that the beginning of the year was fine, and then all of a sudden in February, when the Feng Shui energy started coming in, we started losing our human rights, we started losing our health, we started losing our freedom, financially cash flow went down because of the lockdown. So that's definitely was quite intense, especially in March, where we had double number 7, both the monthly and the yearly energy. It flows in 3 cycles, a monthly, a yearly, and a 20-year period. But this also is about balance and harmony. So the balance and harmony in the entire world is affected this year. Then we can also see we have the most dense energy on the east area, and the eastern area stands for health, government, and family and traditions. So this means there's a lot of transformation that's going to happen in these areas this year, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. If we look at the world, we have China towards the east and where it started. So it originated from China. The last time, 9 years ago, when we had the number 5 here, the Fukushima atomic plant in Japan was hit and severely affected, and it created disaster for the world. And the number 5 is like when we have the number 5 on the eastern part of the world, there's sort of the garbage bin for the entire world. So everything collectively we've been stuffing away, it shows up here. So last year we had it towards the southwest, so Australia, we had the southwest. So they were quite affected by a lot of fires, forest fires. So it's quite a dense energy. But we're really forced to look at our past, how we did it in the past and what we want to do in the future, because we are locked in. Number 5 is always locked in. Normally it's in here in the middle, so it can't move anywhere. So we sort of locked in, so we have to go within and find the solution. So we have to look at our health systems. It's going to be completely different from now on. Our government is going to be completely different from now on. And temporarily it might look like it's going downhill, but I can assure you that's because of this. There's also a revolution in the air. Something's going to happen that's creating an effect that it won't last, the restrictions. Then we can also look at the disease star. This is number 2 here. There's also positive energy, so don't worry about that. But the disease star here is towards the south, which stands for light and music and dance, and also like the southern area is like illness that's very feverish, and fever is definitely one of the characteristics of the disease. And at the same time, we have a difficulty because of the number 3 down here to see our future, because the number 3 is a conflict star that makes it difficult to look where we're going in the future. So we're kind of confused right now. But thank God that these energies change all the time. So even though it's quite intense, it was quite intense in March, it's going to get better and better. So when I hear about the Indian palm leaves, the nadis, that were maybe written 10,000 years ago, and very accurate usually about what's going to happen in the future, they say that this will come quickly and disappear quickly. So if I look into the numerology, there's different aspects here, so I'm kind of putting them together. Numerology is different for the different countries, so I had to find the countries that I could find the birthday on. So I looked into United States, I looked into Sweden, Denmark, Italy, France. Those kind of the countries I could find out. So they have quite different perspectives and quite different what's going to happen for them. So the birthday of United States was like the 4th of July. So they're a number 4 in numerology. And that creates a lot of issues with the health in the beginning of the year, especially from about March and February, late February, start March. So that's what we're seeing right now. We also are going to see a lot of clearing of karma, clearing of all ways of doing things right now. And actually they have the same numbers as they had during the Great Depression in 1930, with some small adjustments. It looks like what's going to happen is that, of course, a lot of people went into unemployment, and it looks like they're going to be way better than in the 1930s in the Depression. It looks like United States financially is going to be fine after this crisis, because it seems like they're going to be the leader, as usually in the world economy, to regain its power, and it's going to be really, really quickly. It's going to be from one day to the next. So we have to look at when we come to the end of May, things are going to start rapidly going forward. If I look at my own country in Denmark, what I can see, there's a lot of fear, a lot of worry, but also that people are very trusting and very responsible, maybe a bit too responsible. So they're really, really careful. And now we've seen in the data in Denmark that we've been too careful. So the fear is going to be like on the 15th of April, around that period. That's when the fear is going to top the most. And that's when in Denmark the children are allowed to go out to the daycare and the school. Some of the children, the youngest children. So that's sort of very, as a parent, you're always very afraid and taking care of your child. So that's where the fear is the most. But then there's something going on behind the scenes. If you look at the numerology in Denmark, you can see there's something like you're being played. There's an energy that we had during the financial crisis, an energy of using manipulation to gain power, and it seems like there's something going on that we can't really know about. And if I look into all the different data, it seems like there's something going on that we're not being told. And what we're not being told, what are we being cheated about and played about, I don't know. But we had the same energy during the financial crisis before it happened. We had something going on that the banks were playing us, the financial institutions was playing us. And it's not a good sign. So I looked into the different politicians of Denmark, and I found out that it wasn't the leaders, it wasn't the people in front. There was they had in numerology had 22-4, which is sort of like very naive. So they're just listening to the advisors. And I looked into the advisors' numbers, and then I found out who was causing the issues and the problems. It wasn't the politicians that we see in front. It was the advisors behind that was creating the issues. That's how I see it, according to numerology. So they're sort of the people that are cheating us, and they're not accountable politically. They can't be made accountable, and that's kind of frightening. So if I look across the sea to Sweden, they have a different way of doing things. They have so far kept the borders open and restricted only to like 50 people, and still had the schools open, still had the shops open, cafes and restaurants. And they have a very optimistic way of looking at things, and it looks like they also are very observant of what's going to happen in the rest of the world, looking out. They have actually the numbers that the United States have, according to them, that stands for intelligence works, like CIA, FBI. So like watching what's happening. So you can kind of recognize that energy as the intelligence services. So if I look at Sweden all year round, it looks like they're going to do fine. They feel like they've done the right thing, and it looks like they seem to have done the right thing. And by being careful, but not being too careful, and still taking care of the financial side of the world. So in Denmark, the rest of the year looks like it's been very stressful. A lot of things to catch up, and difficulty setting boundaries, people stepping over their boundaries, and you can feel like we had just had a couple of months where we just had to be very careful of boundaries, and then we started opening up, and people want to hug again, and then crossing the boundaries. It's like a difficult period, but luckily next year is going to be a way better, both financially and health-wise. Then the more interesting things we can look at Italy. So there's a lot of things happening in Italy that we can look into, but Italy is a number 8. It's started on the 17th, so 1 plus 7 equals 8. So if you look at Italy has probably a lot of bankruptcy, a lot of losses, and it's really a very dreadful period. And what their reaction would be, again, they'll seem to come out about the 15th of April and start to get better, and in the end of May should be fine. But it looks like they're really hit hard by the financial and economic part of it, and they will try to stand together. You can see, like, doing collectively, we're gonna lift up the energy in Italy, and it will be hard for them, but they will sort of manage together, like, we'll do this together. But especially countries like United States that are born on the 4th of July, and Italy that's born on the 8th, those are the countries that are being most affected. We can also see it in France, which also had being really affected, but the reaction will be different. And we know in France they're already quite rebellious and also very into revolution, the French Revolution, sort of known for it, and that's sort of still the outcome. So we can see the collective energy, the history, the past is still being reflected into the present. how people react. So it's quite interesting. So in general, I just have to say, from a mere spiritual perspective, we can't really change what's happening in the world, what's happening in other people. We can't control it. We can only control ourselves. So how I would do it, how I would see it, is that whatever's happening for you now, see it as if you had chosen it. Accept it as if you had chosen it. Because when you work from acceptance instead of resistance, wanting to change it, wanting to fix it, get rid of it, you open up the energy in you and you are more constructive. When you work from the energy of fear, you attract circumstances that confirm your fear. When you work from trust, you attract circumstances that confirm your trust. So it's very important right now to trust and surrender your fears into trust. Surrender your fears into love. And choose courage right now. You can always choose courage in any situation, at any moment of time. And there's always way more inner courage than there is fear. The fear is slightly covering the inner courage, but the inner courage is much bigger. So you always have the option of opening to your inner courage. And what I'm hoping for the world is also that, besides we having to go inside and doing a lot of spiritual work, because this is a great period to do spiritual work, a lot of meditation, transcendence, and letting go of fear and letting go of death, we could also hold the intention to uplift the world with wisdom. If we look at the world and our politicians, it looks like it could need a lot of wisdom. And we have a lot of past teachers and spiritual leaders like Gandhi and Martin Luther King. We have Nelson Mandela, who taught us, or showed us rather, how to lead from wisdom and have a spiritual leadership. And we have gone from the Piscean period in astrology to Aquarius, where there used to be like one guru and a lot of different students, and now we are all our masters. We all the guru ourselves. We don't need one master. We have to find the truth in ourselves. And I always tell people when I'm teaching them, don't listen to one, or don't trust anything I'm saying. Find out for yourself. Trust your own experience more than what you hear, because having the experience yourself is much more valuable than just listening to what someone else says about spirituality. You can learn about love. You can have read every book about love, but if you're still not more of the love that you already are and open to it, you're still not further along the road. So you need to be love. You need to be courage, be bravery, instead of just admiring people that are more loving or more brave. You can be that. You are it. They're just examples of it. They're not any more special than you. They're not any different than you. You have the same opportunities. And I'm not saying that so that you can beat yourself up and shame yourself, because you're already doing that way too much. I'm saying that so you have the option to see that you already are, and it's so easy, it's so natural. It's so difficult to not be love. It takes a lot of effort not to be love. It's the most natural in the world to be the love that you are. So coming back to wisdom, one of the things you can do, according to a lot of spiritual books and what I've sort of experienced myself, is that if you focus on the crown chakra, on this energy center up here, it sort of creates a harmonizing effect on the whole energy system. So just by keeping your intention here and letting this energy spread down through your body, you can open up to your inner wisdom, your inner intuition. And it creates a very fast-moving, high-vibration state moving through your body. And from that state, you can send it out into the world because it needs wisdom. And wisdom is not something you can learn in school. It's something about experience, something about ethics, intuition, having an open heart, leading from your heart, leading not from your brain, from your control center, but leading from the heart, and going forward in life from your heart. So that's super important. I have a question here, not a question, I have a quote from Eckhart Tolle who says, "Nothing is either good nor bad, only our thoughts make them good or bad." So in wisdom, you don't judge. You don't see yourself as right or more than other people or other less than you. You see the different perspectives and you acknowledge them, you respect them, and you're not trying to defend or attack the other opinion. You are in acceptance that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, has created this multitude of facets and opinions, but we're still all one. If you go to an amusement park, you have the carts, the bumper cars, and you have like people bumping into each other. So they seem separate, but if you look, the bumper cars are still all connected to the same energy. They're still being run by the same energy. So use this moment in time as an opportunity to grow spiritually, to go within. This is a great awakening. It's not a disaster. It's a great awakening in the health area, in the governmental area, in your balance and harmony. It's the perfect opportunity to go and meditate and do the things that you never had time for and breaking free of the hamster wheel, because it's always the right opportunity, but right now the energy is very supportive of it. Look at is if you've chosen this as a retreat, as I said in the beginning, look at it as if you've chosen this, you wanted this to happen. From that space, from that point of view, it's much easier to create changes. And remember to love people, even though they disagree with you and they've done horrible things. Hate is not gonna drive out hate. Only love is gonna do it. Love is the solution. So choose love right now. And choose love right now. And choose love right now. So this is Zimon August here, and my perspective on the coronavirus, and from a more spiritual perspective, including numerology, Feng Shui, Indian palm leaves, and sort of what came to me. All my love, and have a wonderful day, week, year, and life. Namaste.